What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel for today's community stream talking about WandaVision. Guys, thank you all so much for being here. I do apologize about being late for the stream. We've got a guest here today with us. We're going to have Jason from Polyhedral Paradice joining us. If you would like to go check out his channel and like the things that he's saying and you're into D&D, make sure that you go check out his channel. I left a link down in the description where you can go and check him out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this and bring our guest in. We got my man Jason from Polyhedral Paradise. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Trinity. How you doing tonight, buddy? This afternoon, whatever it is your time.
It's afternoon now. It's late afternoon. I'm doing good, man. Like when I was this morning, I didn't do my live stream. I normally do, the live streams, and then as I was sitting here around the house this morning, that new WandaVision trailer dropped, and I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like, and I'm sitting out there. I think it dropped right before. Was it right before or right after I got done working out? And then I was on the Den of Nerd stream this morning, and then I'm sitting there. Like, I was got the kids ready for school, and then I started getting ready to go out for work and everything. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time to make my video about this dang trailer because there's so much stuff that happens in this stupid little trailer. Marvel just seems to be so good at doing this with their trailers.
Man, they gave us more in that little trailer than we got in the entire first two episodes. There was so much to digest in that, and I'm sitting there glued to it. Not that I didn't enjoy everything they did so far, but they gave us so much stuff. From the breakdown from Rambo touching the edge of the dome, and then the shot of all those pictures with the IDs up there. I was like, oh, this is what I needed at the end of the third episode, that, and just in that little trailer, man. So yeah, I was excited when that thing dropped out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? The only thing is it's kind of funny is I was sitting there thinking about it and watching this trailer, and it really did make me think of something from watching Josh's video yesterday on the Den of Nerds, where he was talking about this episode coming up. And how the first couple of episodes didn't have a lot of the people, all the sweaties, were all about it. And then some of the casuals weren't. And now he's thinking like this next episode might be where all the casuals are going to get on board and a lot of the sweaties might not be as into it. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, he might not be wrong for the most part. I mean, he's wrong about me, that's for sure. But I think he might be onto something, because I do think, according to what we got in this trailer, it looks like this next episode is going to be that other perspective. What was going on behind the scenes of what we just saw.
Yeah, and I think it's hopefully they do a split. I mean, I'd like to see maybe a 60-40 split where we backtrack a little bit and get the Sword's perspective for the first two episodes, but I don't want to lose what's going on with Wanda and Vision in the sitcoms too. I still want to get some of that, but I definitely do want to backtrack a little bit, and hopefully the episode, expanding a little bit. Hopefully the episodes go a little bit longer than they have been going too. Once we get that expansion, maybe it'll go. Have you seen a runtime? I haven't seen a runtime.
I haven't. I don't really ever look into that. Yeah, I figure I was just give it to me. Just inject it into my veins.
Give it to me straight. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, if we had like a nice 45-minute runtime where we got 25 minutes of Sword, what they were doing, like Jimmy Woo, them finding out about this thing, and then let's go back and see the next. I guess it would be the 80s. I guess the 1980s. Yeah. And give us that too, a nice 25-minute chunk of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be optimal.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is like, and I guess before I get too far into it, you were saying about the 60-40 thing. Is that anything close, anything like that dreaded 7-10 split? Sorry, it made me think of Kingpin when you said that.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, we can talk about Kingpin sometime. All right, well, let's take a little diversion here. Better bowling movie, Kingpin or Big Lebowski?
Big Lebowski. I don't really look at Big Lebowski as a bowling movie. I do look at Kingpin as a bowling movie. But then that brings up debates like on Debate 8 the other week when they had the Big Lebowski on stoner comedies. I'm kind of like, I'm not sure that I really consider that one a stoner comedy.
Adam has suspect judgment sometimes. I love him, but sometimes his judgment is a little suspect.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, a moment of silence for the Prestige, you know?
Ooh.
Not to sidetrack it too much.
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
know,
you know what?
it's a
We
sore
could go
spot.
on all day about that, right?
I know. Well, let's bring it back to WandaVision. My fault.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, now I think there's a lot going to come out in this episode, and I do think we're going to get that other side, kind of like the backside, what's going on Sword's side of it here, because we see that in the trailer. Now, the interesting thing with all of that is thinking about what is seen in that trailer, and then seeing what we've seen in the first 3 episodes. Is very interesting because as I was going through that trailer, I mean, some of the things I noticed, like right off the bat in that trailer, was, you know, first we see them there outside of Westview, and it's only for a split second. You see Monica Rambeau has this device in her hand, and it looks almost like a Ghostbusters PKE meter, and she's sitting there like, and I'm dead sure she was the one in the big suburban sword vehicle, had a sword logo on it, and Park was in the other car that was facing the other direction. And I just thought it was interesting that she has that. She kind of looks like she's in some tactical gear in the first place. She looks like she's got a vest on. Even the buckles, like, I'm telling you, like, I'm not like I'm nerd and I was sitting there like examining everything. But I noticed.
No, sure, no, not at all.
I'm sitting there noticing everything that she's wearing, the stuff that's being said. She goes up there, she touches the force field. And it is crazy too. She calls it an energy field. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like I said, not that I look too far into these things, and I was just kind of noticing that. And then then later it moves on, and we see that flash inside of it. What looks like it's probably inside of their little headquarters that they built there. And you know, there's just all kinds of little things in this that I could go into, but. On that wall there where they show the people in the community, I thought it was very interesting. They show the certain screenshots and they show all the people's profiles, and all of them has a picture except for or all of them has a driver's license except for Agnes. All of them have names, real names other than Agnes. And it really started to make me think about some other things, and then I actually zoomed in on those things, and I really started reading what was on those profiles, and I couldn't read what was on Agnes's because I had to get there's another shot where it showed just a few of them with that one out of view, and it's very interesting some of the things that they got in there and said. They, like, in one of them, like the oh man, what's his name, Norm, in this show. It's very interesting. It talks about him, but it says what his occupation is, and it just says, or I can't exactly remember, but it just says computer.
Computer.
It just says computer for his occupation, and
well, it certainly wasn't Hedstrom.
Yeah, right.
That's for sure. Oh wait a minute,
that was her.
Oh no, I get the names.
Yeah, that's her.
Herb. Sorry, yes.
So I was sitting there looking at. They're talking about Norman. It talks about the incidences they had with him, the incidents. And one of them was like, because you could see from what they were watching, these must be notes that maybe, I'm guessing, Darcy was taking, since we see her sitting there watching on the screen. It looks like she's the one watching there, and I'm pretty sure, not that I went and analyzed anything, but I'm pretty sure those are her hands that I seen at the end of episode 1. I didn't spend a couple of hours Googling celebrities' hands to find that out.
For all the years of watching Two Broke Girls, I'm pretty sure those were her hands. Right. You know, dreaming and guffawing over her hands. Yeah. But anyway, that's
So I was sitting there, but the profiles, like the one of them, it says their interactions with Norm. It talks about the first time that we see him in episode 1, the interaction that he had with Vision. And it talks about the second time. It talks about a second incident, which is really weird. In a second interaction. Some of it just seemed a little jumbled. I couldn't really make much out. But one of the things it said in there was it gave the guy's real name, which I don't have it right in front of me to say what his real citizen name is in the show. But it says his real name, you know, whatever it is, was interacting with Vision until basically like Vision basically touched him and brought him and changed it, made him be Norm again. So he was out of character, and Vision touched him and made him be Norm again. And I thought that was very, very crazy, seeing some of that stuff. And then,
I didn't
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was
I'm
gonna
sorry.
say, and then I went over to Mr. Hart, and you could see what was written in his little profile, and it was very interesting too. They had him listed as the manager, there at the at the computer services, and just then it goes into the profile of the interactions that he has with Vision. It talks about and breaks down what we've seen in episode 1, of them there in the office, and then it has the interaction while they're there with dinner at the dinner time, and it kind of talks about the same thing, how not how Jarvis, but how Vision had went and basically touched him and kind of saved his life essentially there. But it also goes on to has like comments from the person, and it talks
Mm-hmm.
about him. He didn't feel I can't remember, like he didn't like feel threatened or anything, and had no accusations toward Vision after, like, for whatever reason happened in that incident. But then, and that just reminded me of something that was in the norm in the norm dossier. It actually said on under norms they were talking about what happened to Norm, and they
Mm-hmm.
say in there, is Wanda controlling this whole town?
What?
Yeah.
It says it down in the
Yeah.
dossier. Like Sword doesn't exactly know what's going
Yeah.
on either. Like they have no clue. Oh man. See, I saw the dossiers, but I didn't zoom in. I mean, that's some juicy tidbits there.
Yeah.
So it does kind of confirm that whatever she's doing is being broadcast for everybody to see. It's not just Sword sort of like peeking in through whatever means they have. You think everybody is able to see it? Like maybe people locally? Like is what they're seeing broadcast to like a regional, like somebody's interrupted this broadcast with a special presentation, you know? Like is it going out to people's homes? Like is it really being broadcast and that's how they got how they're seeing it? Or do you think it's just Sword sort of picking up on it and taking notes for themselves? Like what do you think? Because if they're seeing all these
Yeah.
interactions, like how are they seeing them? Like is it local to Sword or is it something bigger than that?
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
And that's interesting that you actually, because I wasn't really thinking about that, because I was sitting there thinking like, oh, there's probably some sinister organization, which, by my theories would be AIM is actually sitting there monitoring her and has the whole thing going on. Maybe they're the ones doing it. But now that you brought it up, I guess I didn't really think about that. I mean, it very well could be possible that she's somehow taken over the radio waves and is broadcasting this out through her stuff and kind of controlling what's going on the TV. So yeah,
I mean,
that's interesting.
that was one of the bigger questions I had. Like, who's seeing this?
Right.
You know, if it was Sword just sort of were they tipped off to this electromagnetic disturbance or this energy field, and then they sort of try to figure out a way to see what's in there. Like, are they looking in through cameras, and that's how they're seeing it? Like, how exactly are they seeing what's going on in this other dimension? Or is it something that's just being like blown out because this massive energy source, and they're seeing this stuff because somehow they're seeing exactly what's going on,
Right.
and they're seeing it from a perspective that's outside of Wanda and Vision. Like it's like we're seeing it basically. Like those first two episodes with what we're seeing is probably exactly what Sword's seeing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, because the thing I thought was crazy was how they're kind of got these profiles there with these people. They've got their IDs there, and it seems like maybe these are actually people that they have maybe. This would be by my theories. People that they actually put into that community to try to get to Wanda, possibly, or any such thing like that, is kind of what my thought might be, as far as something like that, because they have all their IDs. And in the comic book that I'm kind of referring to in some of my theories, they actually have paid actors inside of this bubble, inside of this prison, and they all signed NDAs and things like that, which was something that kind of came in my mind when I was sitting there reading some of the comments and stuff that were there on those Sword dossiers. I'm like, oh man, like it kind of seems like it, but it also might seem like maybe they actually got people out of there, and they got statements from them or something like that. In the case of Mr. Hart, and that's what I was kind of noticing too. Is I noticed a lot of the people's profiles who actually had comments on there, aside from like on the underlying part from where it seems like they actually got statements from somebody. The only person that had that was people that had direct contact with Vision. I think there was one from Herbert. There was one from Norm and Mr. Hart. Nobody else really actually had direct contact with Vision, and I think
So
that was there's something else to that too.
yeah, that's pretty interesting. I thought that somehow, and we can get into, I guess, like general theories, but after the episode with Mr. Hart, the fact that he didn't show up in the second episode sitting next to Agnes and it was just Mr. Hart's wife, after he had that interaction with Vision, I was wondering if somehow he got pulled out. Like he had that interaction with Vision and it was almost like he didn't even remember it once it was done. And he stood up and it was almost like at that point they pulled Mr. Hart out, and it was just like a shell of an avatar there, just going through the motions. And then he's gone, and you don't see him in the second episode. So yeah, so
Right.
did he have that interaction with Vision? And it's something that like after that they either trip or come back to normal, and then they're able to be pulled out and then sort of debriefed, and that's how you have the comments. And the same
Absolutely.
thing with Herb. Maybe the Herb that we see in the third episode had been pulled out and was shoved back in to sort of to keep going along with the plan. Like they pulled him out, debriefed him. He's like, you have to go back in to maintain the illusion. And that's why we don't see Herb sort of tip him off in the first two episodes. But that third episode, after he has the interaction with Vision, he's like, yeah, I'm back here, but I don't want to be back here, and I've got something that you need to know. I didn't think about that, but that's pretty interesting. That I'm gonna have to take a look at those comments now.
And what
So
really made me think, and believe me, it was hard to get. I mean, I had it on my big
mhm.
screen here at the. It was on my big screen, and I had to pause it. I'm sitting there on my PlayStation, like I was trying to pause it at the right time just so I could get it, because I couldn't do that. I don't know if I could do that on my computer or anything. I've only got a 27-inch monitor, so
Mhm.
though it's probably a higher quality than my TV, but it was really
So
hard to get in
this is
there
when
with that.
8K is going to come in handy.
Right.
8K,
Yes.
85-inch 8K TV, you'll be able to read words on a gnat's ass.
Yeah. So I did think it
Mm.
was very interesting the fact that it seemed like all the people that Vision actually personally touched had that thing with them where and that's what we seen in the first episode was they were kind of freaking out. They kind of got stuck in maybe a loop or something like that, like when he
Mhm.
started choking and Vision went and actually saved him. We even seen that happen with his wife and she snapped out of it. It makes me wonder if Vision is actually having something to do with what's going on here. And it brings me back to something that was in the comics that would hold true in this movie universe if you think about it too, in the fact that Vision's body is dead. His mind is still
Mhm.
alive. He was an AI
Yeah.
construct. He was a computer program. Shuri had
Yeah.
downloaded it, and it being downloaded and being on any servers, as we've seen in Age of Ultron, he can be anywhere at that point. He can put himself in any computer program. He used to help fly the Quinjets. You know,
Yeah.
in Age of Ultron, there's that
Um,
sticker. Jarvis is my co-pilot. It's
yeah, he was. I mean, think about all the things that went to making him, and then even Shuri said, he's all these different things. He's not just the Mind Stone.
right,
So even though the Mind Stone's gone and his body is dead, who knows what parts of the world? Maybe even in Wanda, because they have the connection through the
right,
Infinity Stones. Maybe his consciousness is still inside her somewhere, which would come back to
right.
like what I think the bigger picture is and what's going on. When you want to get into that, because like a crazy theory that's probably not right, but at least it's fun to think about. I think this whole thing is a resurrection attempt for Vision gone wrong, where she and hear me out here. I think this is a real town, but here's the interesting thing. I think she got the idea for the idyllic life from Cap. When Cap came back, eventually she either read Cap's mind or he cracked and he told her the story about how he went back in time and lived this small town life with Peggy Carter. Now, if you think about where this town is, it's right outside of what is possibly one of the original Shield facility.
Camp
This
High.
could be the very town. This could be the very town that Cap and Peggy lived at.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes and takes the body of Vision, goes and attempts some sort of resurrection magic. Something goes wrong, and all these people are actually residents of the town that get caught up in her failed attempt to resurrect Vision. Now, I know the name Mephisto and a lot of names from the comics have been thrown around. I don't want to get into those names because I only want to work off of what we've seen in the show so far. But we can speculate if you want. But you know, it's quite possible that these people were real townsfolk that are trapped now in her illusionary world that has gone awry while attempting to resurrect Vision. But I think she succeeded, which is why we're seeing Vision act autonomously in this world. Like, she got him. She made him. He's real. But now they're trapped in sort of this idyllic hell. So yeah, I think I like the idea about these people being sword agents, but I also think they were original residents of the town, which is why they have the driver's licenses. Because if it was, you wouldn't. All these people have native New Jersey licenses. Now, sword is probably pulling people from everywhere. I don't think all those agents would have been from Jersey. I think these are original residents of this town that lived there before it got enveloped in her little bubble.
Could be.
So
it very well could be. Well, and we'll see. And see, part of my theory with they're actually sword agents with the IDs is that they would have had to make fake IDs for them in order to try to fool Wanda. In order to try to fool
like
Wanda.
Those are their IDs. Those were their IDs while they're going into the town. Yeah, that's a thought.
But
that's a good idea.
I do want to kind of go back to what you were saying there about it being near Camp Lehigh and everything. There, from what we know, just the other things like the area codes and all that stuff for that area. That's very interesting too, because I do have to say, going along with that, something now else that it could easily be, because I know we know the MCU don't do things exactly like the comic books do, you know. And, you know, we've been hearing everything about Eric Williams, Simon Williams, which are the Grim Reaper and Wonder Man, right? But I was sitting there kind of thinking, well, if you think about it, in the MCU, Jarvis, he was named after their old butler. So was it actually maybe his consciousness that got uploaded into a computer? And when did that happen exactly? I'm curious about that too. If they used maybe his brain waves, you know, kind of like they did in the comics, or if there's anything to that. But it also made me think of somebody else in the MCU, and that would be one of our.
I know where you're going.
Oh yeah, you know I'm going there. One of the godfathers of the MCU, Dr. Arnim Zola, Hail Hydra, had that exact same thing there. He had that facility there. He had his consciousness in a computer and was living there. It's not hard to imagine that maybe he wasn't the only one that they had there. We've seen at least 2 minds that have been uploaded into AI constructs. Are there other people there who are dead in a sense, who they might be trying to bring back alive in a sense, just like Jarvis did into Vision, basically with Ultron and all of that stuff? Kind of made me start thinking about that, because we were talking, you know, there's been all the talk about zombies and all this kind of stuff, because it kind of relates to the comic books and all these people dead and Grim Reaper trying to resurrect, because that's what happened in the comic books. It made me think, like, yeah, maybe we're not talking about like an actual death here, like actual zombies. It made me start thinking about all these things.
Yeah, because they do change things slightly from how they do it in the comics. So what if it's sort of like the idea of zombies and not actually zombies? So you have all these people who they get brought back into these constructs, like their consciousnesses are uploaded into all these constructs. That's a great way to have zombies without actually having to go zombies.
What are zombies these days? The TV. That's exactly what we're seeing. If you think about it, going through the decades, you see the boob tube change. What eventually happens once you get into the new millennium?
Then you gotta,
your phones.
A bunch of zombies staring at phones.
Wow.
The whole thing is an allegory for TV turning you into zombies.
I don't know. Maybe we're going a little bit far here, but we should probably get into the chats.
Look, when you only have so much to work with, the rabbit holes are a wondrous place to go down, man. And I mean, it's great
Yeah.
though that we could sit here and like go off the rails.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, that's because for a while it was like crickets in and have nothing to go on. But I like where your head's at. But wouldn't it be awesome if we found out that Jarvis was actually Jarvis?
Right.
Like that his consciousness was at Camp Lehigh. Around the he was uploaded somehow, like with Tony Stark's father doing work on proto AI and using the same technology. Like he's on a tape drive somewhere.
Right.
Hanging out on a tape drive, and that is like, like at some point he spits out something that Jarvis would have actually said. I mean, that's aside from everything else, that's an interesting concept that I think they should explore.
I think we've gone through the depths here already, and we haven't even got done talking about the dang stupid trailer yet.
I know, right? Hey, what if this whole thing is Vision rebooting himself?
I've kind of thought about stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of what we've got going on in this situation. But I want to give a shout out to everybody here in the chats again. Thank you all so much for being here. We got Jonathan Velasquez, who was on the show with us last week talking. We got Park Outdoors, who was triggering me in Adam's live stream last night. Red Raven 96, how are you doing? We got Georts here and Peter Ferret. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah, Park Outdoor says next time you do a mailers video, you should call it Mail Hydra. I love it. I love it. Nice. That's nice. Obi-Wan, the homie, what is up? Thank you. Smashing that like button.
I gotta say, that is one of the most awesomely creative names I've heard in a long time. Obi-Wan, the homie.
Yeah,
Gotta be props to you, man.
It stands out.
Yeah.
We got George says, didn't watch that. I waited till Disney finally updates their site to watch the episode itself. Yeah, here. Oh, okay. George might sound like he's probably kind of like my wife in that sense, and I don't mean that in a bad sense. I don't mean that in a bad sense, and I don't mean that in a weird sense neither. Anyway.
Like a weird, creepy drooling on yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of way. Life.
My wife, she don't like to watch trailers and stuff for movies. And I always like, how do you know if you want to watch the movie then? But I get it. Like, if you're like, he's like, George is probably like, I'm already into the show. I don't need to see the trailers or anything like that. So, like, just give me the dang show. And I feel the same way. Just give me the show. But I'll take everything.
I mean, I get it a lot of times, though. Like, a lot of times you get spoiled, though, by trailers. Yeah. Like, I want it all as a surprise. And then there's trailers out there, maybe not specifically for this, but for movies, that'll give you the whole entire movie inside of 3 minutes. I'm like, I don't need to watch it now. So I get his point. So, anyway.
Yeah. Yes. And GOT, he also says the wizard behind the curtain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, crazy stuff going on here. Aduda Reviews, thank you so much for being here. We got the Widow. And I do want to say what's up to all the Myrtle Maniacs we've got here in the house. We do have Red Raven 96. We've got the Widow. I see my man Mike Porter is in the building. How are you doing, Mike Porter? We got Wu-Tang Wells here in the building. Wu-Tang says he's got a theory of who the beekeeper is. We'll keep scrolling. We'll see if we get there and see what he has to say. Mike Porter says, Jason and Trinity, it's a nerd's dream. Yeah.
Oh, man, Mike.
Obi-Wan the homie says, I was wondering where Friday was in that debate. Oh, yeah. Talking about Friday, from the other AI that he has. Yeah, very interesting stuff. I mean, and obviously, I'm telling you, Tony's out there. He appropriates everybody's work, especially that of Dr. Arnim Zola. Hail Hydra. Come on.
The Godfather of the MCU. Okay. Real mastermind, man. None of this would happen without him.
George says, yeah, I'm going to mute it for now. I'd rather wait for the episode. All good, George. All good. New sneak peek is in the wrong order of events, in my opinion. Yeah, you know what? There's other interesting things I want to talk to you about as well. I'm fading into lurker mood. I need to sleep. Got off at 5:30 this morning. I haven't slept yet. Oof, man, working them overnight shifts. Well, thank you so much for being here. I believe that is Ashley from the Widow. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I got you, lurker mode. Gotcha. When I saw that clip drop, I immediately wanted Trinity to see it. Yeah, I got my notifications on for that Marvel Entertainment. Dang it, they drop a video, I'm on it. I'm on it like it was one of those Nerdvengers streams, and I have to go in there and start wrenching around.
Oh my goodness. Watch throwing that wrench around, man. Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, Jonathan Velasquez says maybe everyone is just a computer system. Norm, Agnes, Herb, Ralph. And you know what? And I'm telling you, I thought of that exact same thing. That's kind of what I was saying when we watched episode 1 and 2. Because like Norm, if you think, and what they kind of did to him at the library when they gave him that stick of Big Red, it was a virus. It was a virus they gave him to see if he can get it taken care of, or if they can infiltrate his systems. That's kind of the way I seen it. And yeah, it makes sense. Norm, Agnes, Herb, Ralph. Yeah.
I almost saw that meeting with the neighborhood watch club. I almost felt like that was an adjunct for Shield. Like Vision was sitting in on like a Shield meeting inside of, and if, at a point there, Herb reminded me he had the mannerisms of Nick Fury. I know it wasn't him, but I was like, he reminds me a little, like his attitude for a couple seconds there. I was like, reminds me of Nick Fury. I thought for a minute there maybe those were Sword agents, sort of infiltrating, but you know that went out the window. But yeah, I felt like the neighborhood watch is somehow like a metaphor for Sword inside there.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna see some connection there. But sorry,
I was just thinking, like, if you did take those names, look at Norm. I'm not sure what Norm would stand for. We'll get to, because I was thinking he would be like the Hydra version. But if you think about Agnes, A begins with an A, AIM. H, Herb begins with an H, Hydra. R for oh man, I just had it on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. Yeah. Anyway, but basically all of the secret organizations within the Marvel universe that are always out there to trying to regulate stuff, you know?
And each one had a representative sort of in there in the form of one of those avatars.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's pretty.
Could be.
It's possible. So you're going with it being AIM then. I know you brought AIM up a lot. Is that because of the hexagon?
I mean, it's the Beekeeper. I mean, it's the fact that AIM is in the MCU. They were obvious. I mean, to me, they had to have been working with Hydra at some point. They had to have. It just seems obvious. Yeah. And maybe it's just because it's my theory and I have to run with it. And it's a hill I have to die on. And Eric Voss, you son of a... If you're here watching, stealing my ideas, you better at least give me a shout out one of these days in one of them videos, dang it. Mike Porter says Darcy is in charge. Says Justin Simone says, yo, am I on 2nd Street? I must have made a wrong turn. Yeah. Norm was previously on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., says Jonathan Velasquez. But what was he, though? Was he the same character? Because he's really the one that I'm thinking is like, if they are programs or if they are agents working for other agencies, I mean, I don't think that Vision was joking around when he called him a communist. I think that was like a serious thing. I mean, I seriously think that was information he had that he knew. He's like, Norm's a communist. And they all laughed it off. Because maybe a couple of people were unaware and don't know. And maybe there is a couple people who do know. I don't know.
Vision subconsciously spat that out because he knows. And everybody else laughed it off. Everybody got real super serious about it at first.
Yeah.
For a second.
Yeah,
like it was a bit of real information sneaking in. I never thought about that.
Okay, Peter Ferret here says computer was a job before electric computers. Okay, fair enough. Well, I guess because is what they are doing. They're working at a computing services thing, and they're not on computers. So, by all means, all right. Yeah,
they are technically computing.
Yeah. Point taken. He's got me there.
But computing what? Yeah. What are they computing?
Well, yeah, that's what that. And see, it's funny because they talked about that in that dossier there, because they're like Vision came up and was asking about what they do and what their job is, and it's like, why would they? What's that? But they were just describing the incidents that were happening with all these people. So, yeah. Equals MCU says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. connections galore in WandaVision. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not really for sure who else there is. I'll have to check. We'll as we're scrolling down, we'll look into more. Man, oh man, it jumped on me. Okay, here we go. Where Mike Porter says, "Where's Dottie?" Yeah, Dottie is. Yeah. I think she's probably one of the ones who is possibly in on it. The other interesting, like, I don't know, there's just too many interesting, because I'm looking at a lot of this stuff too, is thinking about in the comic books. And here's the thing is, like, everybody's thinking, like, if Agnes is a version of Agatha Harkness, why would she be working against Wanda? I'm not for sure about all their history in the comics, but all the stuff I've read with her and Wanda, they were friends and they worked together, not against each other. So
I thought it was 50-50. She had like a love-hate relationship with Wanda. Like there was times where she was an enemy and there was times where she was her friend.
okay, could be.
But I haven't read it all, so I'm not sure. I'm just going off of what I heard. But is she really working against her in this show?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like that first episode where she wanted Wanda to have this nice romantic night with Vision, and then Mr. Hart and the wife were coming over. It seemed like Agnes was trying to make everything go off without a hitch so they could get to the business of making children.
Right.
Like Agatha was pushing like, oh, you're going to have this nice romantic evening for, and to me, that's like an extension for the children. So I don't know. I don't feel like she is working against Wanda. I feel like whatever she's doing, she's trying to shuffle Wanda towards them having kids and whatever that end goal is. So I don't think she's really working in opposition to Wanda in this show.
And
I mean, but she hasn't really presented herself as a huge villain either. But I like it's very low key. It's very subtle.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you.
If anything, I think
I'm loving Catherine Hahn in this damn show. I mean, I love Catherine Hahn anyway, but man, she's freaking killing it. Like I could watch like her scenes over and over and over again. But going along with that too, the other interesting thing, like with my theory about them being agents, is because we see it, like if they were unaware of who she was, Herb and Agnes wouldn't have been talking there at the window going, when they were talking like, what's she doing here? What's she doing inside? Mm-hmm. They know who she is. They know who Monica Rambeau is. So like they knew who she was. They knew she was there. They see her as a threat. Another thing I thought was very interesting about episode 3 was we've seen the interaction between people. In the first episode, the only people that we've seen Wanda interact with was at her house. And it was just the two bosses and Agnes and Vision, obviously. Only the three of them. In the second episode, she's out in the community, interacts with a few more people, not directly, but she's out there, and that's when we kind of get more characters here, right? And then in this third episode, the only people that she sees are Monica and the Doctor. She don't see Agnes at all. She only and Vision. Right. She don't see anybody else, and she is in that house the whole time. I thought that was just kind of interesting. Seeing some of those things. Like I said, we start to look at just every little thing as being something. The other thing that
I think narratively, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact she was pregnant and trying to hide her pregnancy and everything. But it was a very light episode as far as all the extraneous characters. Like you met the circle of friends in the second episode, but they completely disappeared, in the third episode. You only got the one shot of Dottie and her husband, and that's when the lights are flickering and everything, and you only got the one shot of Herb and Agnes talking, and the rest of it was focused on the Doctor and Vision. And the Doctor, the delivery of his line, like, sometimes it's impossible to leave small towns. I was like, ooh, that sent chills up my spine. Like, was that a subconscious dig, or is that like, was he really trying to say something? Like, how much do these people know? How much are they putting on? And how much of it is like subconscious in their dialogue? Right. How much are they actually aware?
Part of my thing with that was, I was thinking, just according with my theory and everything, is I think the Doctor, he knew that all he had to do was be there, basically confirm that Wanda was pregnant and all of that stuff, and tell her what she needs to know so he can get the hell out. Basically, like he was going to get out on parole, like he was a prisoner trying to get out. Like all I got to do is do this, and I'm off to Bermuda, baby.
He was so excited about him. I felt so bad. And then Vision not having any problem showing his super speed to him, throwing him on his back and just taking off with him. Yeah. The Doctor not even batting an eye, really. And I was going to
say, that was the other interesting thing, too, was in this, we didn't get any other shots of anywhere else in the community in that third episode. It was in the house, right outside of the house, and right in front of the Doctor's house, who, according to the address, was just not very far up the road. But we didn't even see anywhere in between that. It was just this shot, that shot.
Yeah, and so much to that point that everything else, all the backgrounds were matte paintings. It was like so little. Like, this episode was completely focused on the babies, on bringing the kids in.
Yeah.
And there was some lots. I know you got to finish up with the chat, but then there's a lot of stuff that went on in that house that really took me by surprise and really like led on that she's in charge, but she's not the only one that's in charge.
Right. Yeah.
Here.
There's somebody else doing stuff for sure. We got
Mhm.
LB here from the Lonely Banter, my man. Thank you so much for sharing the video. Guys, make sure that you share this video too. Make sure, don't just like it.
Oh, yeah.
Share it. Tell your friends to come
I'm
here.
happy to do that.
And don't troll us in the chats because we'll react to it. I swear. A duder says Dottie's the one controlling shit, I reckon. Yeah, it could be. I'm not really sure on Dottie. Like that one's it's kind of a mystery there on that one. Obi-Wan says, loving the clues. Information was obtained when Vision awakened. Is Wanda controlling a whole town? Safety of residents is now in question. Vision restores him. Abhilash, yeah, that's his name, becomes Norm again. There we go. See, Jonathan's on it too. Jonathan's doing the same stuff I am too. He's sitting there like all zooming in, sitting there with his morning coffee in front of his big screen TV. Yeah, I know what you're doing, Jonathan.
Abhilash becomes.
Yeah.
Man, good job, Jonathan.
Yeah, because like I said, I went in there and did that same thing. I was sitting there zoomed in on it, like, okay, what's this saying here? E equals MCU says, wasn't Dottie an agent on Carter? I'm not for sure. Dottie, you mean Cynthia Von Doom? Oh man, wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah, that's the stuff you can read. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if the Avengers are able to see this, Doctor Strange would be only able to manage it. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing too with the Doctor, because in the comic books, the Doctor that was there and monitoring Wanda was Doctor Strange. He came there and said, "Hey, you're pregnant. You're having these kids. I'll send you off to somebody else who's more qualified for this, and I'll check back in with you later."
Really?
Mm-hmm.
At first when the beekeeper came in, I was thinking, what if that's Doctor Strange popping in, and she doesn't know how to manifest his the way he's dressed and everything, and the beekeeper popping out through a hole.
Their avatar.
What if that's somehow Strange?
Cool.
Yeah, or either that or Ant-Man. And I thought Ant-Man would be a nice corollary because he's got the suit. He popped up out of the hole, which could have been the quantum realm. Yeah. And she's just like, no, get out. Like she somehow recognized him. She's like, get out. And she flipped him back out. Yeah. And Ant-Man has the connection to Jimmy Woo, which is a thought. But seeing him come out in the later previews, seeing him come out of whatever that bubble is, he's still dressed like the beekeeper. So that blows that out of the water.
Yeah. And dare I say, their residual self-image. Jonathan says, I think they're picking it up on a radio TV frequency. Yeah, I think it's that. And the thing where we seen, and that was interesting too in the trailer too, where we seen Randall Park sitting there saying, Wanda, Wanda, over the radio. I think that's an outside, I think it's just like a bullhorn. I think it was just a bullhorn. I don't think it was, I mean, it might have been a radio frequency that they were sending it through, but I was more thinking, but I know he's not exactly saying that, but I was thinking that he was probably doing it through a bullhorn, but now he's bringing that up, and maybe he was actually broadcasting over a radio signal too, because we see they have all that kind of broadcasting equipment there.
Yeah, it's a two-way thing. Like they're broadcasting in the radio into the town. Like it's like if the town's real and they can get right outside the town and broadcast on shortwave radio into the town, maybe the signal can work both ways. Like maybe we'll start seeing stuff pop up on TVs too, right, inside the town.
Well, yeah, and seeing that's the thing. That's where they're trying to like jog her memory, because we see. I think that's kind of what Monica was there doing in there as well, talking to her and just some of those interactions. I think there's things in there that are trying to jog Wanda's memory to wake her up and snap her out of it, because that's something that actually happened in the. That's something that actually happened in the comic book that I was talking about with the assault on Pleasant Hill. Is where they had all kinds of like the Avengers and different heroes inside of this prison. After a prison break, they got stuck inside of there, and their reality was warped. They were the same people, but they seen everybody else, like they seen themselves and other people as somebody else altogether. But the thing is they broke out because Rogue, who was one of the X-Men, obviously, was trained by Professor Xavier against psychic attacks, and how they did that was by having constant, like they had a key, they had something that they would think of, and hers was seeing X's, and it would remind her of Xavier and the fact that she was being psychically manipulated or any kind of psi attacks, I guess. And she's seen a lot of X's this day, and this is the day she like got a phone call, and they were sending phone calls on the phone, and she's getting a phone call. She picks up the phone. She goes, "I don't know who you are. I'm not talking to you today. I can't do this." And then they said something to her, and she's like, "Oh wait." And that's when it jogged her memory. She's seen X's. She's like, "I did see a lot of X's around here." And that's when she snapped out of it and realized that she wasn't this fake person in this reality. And she went through and started waking everybody else up. So it's very interesting in that
you
sense.
may have just tripped on something there, because a lot of people have been wondering, what about all these hexagons that everybody's seeing? All the episodes end in the hexagons. What if they took that little idea that you just had there with the X's snapping people out of reality? Maybe the hexagon is a symbol for Wanda, for her to keep seeing things that, you know, will trigger her to remember that this isn't real. It's like her trigger. And why we keep seeing that hexagon is it's going to eventually be her trigger somehow to clue her in that this isn't real. And they're seeding it already. Yeah, and that's
it very well could be, because if you see the Mind Stone in the shape that it is, it's an elongated hexagon. It's just elongated.
Yeah, it's got 6 points on it.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's see.
That's why it's good to have all this deep lore comic knowledge, man. You just pick and choose, because you know that's what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're picking.
Justin Simone says, kind of like a dream inside a dream. Jonathan Velasco says, agreed, when they use the Modern Family style thing, it's going to be mind melting. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Inception, there we go. George says, heard about Malcolm in the Middle episode as well. Can't wait for Wiccan and Speed playing pranks and whatnot. Yeah, that'll be, all interesting stuff, thinking about once we actually get these kids in the MCU. And it just makes me wonder, like, because even in the comics, like, wasn't there a point where, like, they weren't real and all that? Like, I don't know, all that stuff, like, they weren't real, so it's like, maybe we're gonna get excited. We're like, oh, we're gonna get these kids, and then they...
So from what I understand was, at first they were just creations. They weren't real. They were a vessel for parts of Mephisto's energy and to drain her chaos magic. And then in another storyline, she ended up bringing them in, and they ended up manifesting and becoming real. And I'm assuming they're probably going to sort of like squish both of them to get both of them together so that they can eventually, join the Young Avengers. So yeah, it was kind of both ways. At one point they weren't real, and then they were. So you know how comics get kind of convoluted. So I think they're gonna end up making them real by the end of this, because I think whoever she throws out of this bubble, or whatever she throws out of the bubble, I think manifests itself in actual reality. Which is why when we saw Monica Rambeau get kicked out, she still had her 70s garb on. So I think that's going to be their workaround. That at some point the twins are going to get kicked out, or maybe Vision, or when this whole thing implodes, they're going to end up being left alive in this reality. Prime reality.
Yeah, very well could be. So, and I think that's kind of what a lot of people are guessing too, is like she's manifesting things and making them come true, which I know somebody was talking about too, about like how she talked about the flutter in her belly, and then all of a sudden the butterflies came alive. If you think about it, they painted that stork there. Next thing you know, you got a stork there. All it takes is her manifesting. It's weird that they're all animals too, Justin Simone says, episode length seems to be the biggest gripe with all the Disney Plus shows. I was gonna say, I think everybody's talking about that. Like, I don't mind the half hour. I'm okay with that. But you got, like, at some point they are gonna get longer. I certainly hope, and they just gonna give us nothing but goodness. Russell says, why did Wanda cast Monica out but rewind with the Beekeeper? Who would she instantly reject at first sight? Vision? I think he will find Vision. I think we'll find Vision in a new human body trying to enter Westview. Interesting. That's interesting, and that goes kind of along with like what we're saying there with like, Vision is an AI construct, and all they got to do is find where to put his brain, what to put his brain into. They could put it in a computer, they could put it in a robot, they could do all kinds of things. Because, essentially, remember the cradle was Dr. Cho had it, and they had the miniature one there at the Avengers Tower when they remade Clint's skin after he got injured at the very beginning of Age of Ultron. So they have the means to actually make a
synthetic body
without vibranium like they did with Vision. They have that capability. So basically, we're talking LMDs here, but different, maybe. Like, yeah. Interesting though. Yeah, that's a good one, Russell. Definitely. Something else I want to bring up too, because I was sitting there thinking about this stuff. At the beginning of episode 2, right? Remember, they kept waking up at the very beginning because they were hearing those crashes. It was just the things brushing against the windows.
Thanks.
I think those were people coming into that reality. They were either coming into or leaving, but I'm guessing they were coming into, because the first episode we had only a handful of people, and the second episode we had a lot more people. But we heard that sound. It was the same sound that was happening when that helicopter crashed in episode 2, when she goes out to check the helicopter, because that's what she did. She literally picked the thing up and then she looked at her window where the tree was there brushing the window, and I'm sitting there like, I don't know how many times I watched that, and I didn't even really think like she's sitting there thinking, well, because I wasn't thinking about that they're actually entering. They were entering there in the middle of the night. Maybe at a time when they were able to, they were entering into that reality. Maybe when they thought they wouldn't disturb her because they thought she was going to sleep or whatnot, because they are monitoring it all on TV. So it made me think maybe they are sneaking people in at that time, and that's where they got some of their agents in, and that's how we got more of the people in this community at that point. Because I was sitting there, I don't know why all of a sudden it dawned on me. Just like yesterday, I'm like, oh, why didn't I think about that? Or 2 days ago.
I personally think every time we go to another generation, another decade, I think her energy field is getting bigger and bigger, and that bangs are her energy field increasing and like banging into things in the environment and sucking them in. I don't know if people are coming in on purpose or getting sucked in, and I think it's going to get to a point where this thing is going to get so massive that it becomes like a critical event. Like by the time we get into the 2000s, I think this thing is going to take up so much space and is going to pull in so much of the surrounding area that it's going to be, they have no choice but to act to do something. And I think those bangs are, this field because it would have been in the morning, or like would have been at night, right after the switch, and it's them, like the helicopters flying, this bubble increases, it like bangs into the side, then gets sucked in. Maybe some of the maybe we'll find out some of the people weren't in the town until that time. They came in that morning, like you said, and I don't know if they're entering on purpose. I think they're getting pulled in. Like I think we're gonna see when Monica Rambeau comes up and touches it, that when her hand starts to go in, she gets sucked in. Like she's not ready to go in, right. Which is why she doesn't remember who she is. I think we're gonna find a lot of people aren't ready to go in. The beekeeper is probably the only one that's entered of his own free will, which is why he's been dressed to the hilt. But I think anybody else we see in there has been sort of abducted by this energy field that's expanding from whatever happened. Yeah, but those bangs and everything, like you said, it was definitely had to do with people either getting sucked in or coming in.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's going on, because we do see that happening in the trailer, where you kind of see it expanding. So. Yeah, there's definitely something going on there with that. Yeah. Gior says it's all about cliffhangers. Yeah. Mike Porter says, like I said, WandaVision is a 3-ring circus, paying homage to classic TV based on comic books and MCU mystery movie show. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and believe me, Mike knows. Marvel Maniac, what is up? How are you doing? Hope all is going well. And I want to say thank you to Obi-Wan the homie for becoming one of the Myrtle Maniacs. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate the support, Obi-Wan the homie. Obi-Wan is the homie now. George says,
and one of the sharpestly named men in the Myrtle Maniacs.
yeah, that's a
One of
good
the
one
best named
too.
men.
Well, Obi-Wan. You know what? It reminds me of what's that old movie back in the '80s with Paul Rodriguez? A Million to One. You ever seen that one?
No,
Oh
I haven't
man,
seen it.
dude,
No.
I love Paul Rodriguez, dude. Growing up, and like, yeah, you get like, I used to watch a lot of those movies growing, like all the Cheech and Chong movies and all that stuff. I'm a half Mexican. What can I say? Like the Mexican side of my family, we watch Mexican movies, and Cheech and Chong was on there. Yeah, certainly.
That's why I had to watch The Godfather, being Sicilian. It's like it's a cultural right.
Right.
There's certain things you couldn't avoid growing up.
George says, yep, Agnes tries to help her, channeling her witchcraft, and fell into a trap, and all the others were sucked into this vortex as well. Yeah. Very much so. Justin says, Feige, well, we're looking a little differently. We're looking at developing them as either 6-hour episodes or 9 or 10 half-hour episodes. So, for instance, WandaVision started that way, and I see what you're saying. Yeah, I was kind of thinking this. I was kind of thinking some of them are going to be longer, while some of them are shorter, for sure. Let's see, and I know we're way behind on the chat here, guys. It's that in between world, souls in search for lost ones. They're missing children. Yeah, it could be. Could be. Locked down, trapped inside, and staring at monitors. That's not so deep. Yeah, right. Comic Book Steals and Deals, thank you so much for being here, guys. Make sure you go check out Comic Book Steals and Deals. Go check out his channel. He does some auctions and things as well. Always talking about comic books. If you like comic books, hey, go hang out Comic Book Steals and Deals. He loves them too. Park Outdoor says, if Lehi's sword's base, is Arnim Zola still lurking there? You know what, Park Outdoors? Ooh. There's one thing I would just love to say to that is, I certainly hope so. Hail Hydra.
He was in a backup system somewhere in another building, and they found him. And this is all Zola's fault. Zola trapped Wanda.
Yeah. Oh, Obi-Wan the homie says White Suge has us trying to figure this all out. Yeah, man, dude. And I'm telling you, like seriously, like if I didn't have priorities, I could spend all day looking doing all this stuff, like looking through, like watching WandaVision over and over, looking through for all these different little clues and everything. I could do it. Don't make me.
Hey, man, some people make careers out of that stuff on the net.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't know if you heard about this thing called reaction videos
right.
and stuff.
Ooh, yeah. I'm not sure that I'm so good at those. Myrtle might be good at those. Maybe Myrtle needs to start doing some trailer reactions. Jonathan Velasquez.
Myrtle might get demonetized though.
Just became a member. Just became a Myrtle maniac.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Jonathan Velasquez, for all of your support, my brother. I appreciate it. Let's see. White Sugar, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they picked a great show to start with. I like the risk taking. Yeah, MCU was getting too safe. Yeah, definitely. I love what they're doing with the show. Human Crack 0890 says Quicksilver, Wanda's brother, will return in 2 versions. First, Aaron Taylor Johnson will appear in a couple of episodes, including a flashback. Wanda starts remembering people from the outside. Yeah, I kind of figure that's what they're going to try to do, is try to jog her memory. George says, not so close to the release. I didn't need any trailer anymore before like a month, so it's not, yeah. See, it's not, just like my wife. She don't like seeing the trailers and stuff. And I hear you. That's good. Like I said, I could stay hyped off of just the shows themselves too, but like if they're gonna keep tossing little trailers and snippets at me, like, hey, I'm gonna eat them up.
Hey, I was surprised at that bit that we got today. I didn't think we were gonna get anything else till tomorrow. I mean, so close to tomorrow too. I'm like, whoa. That's not even tomorrow. So close to 3:00 this morning.
Yeah, it was certainly a nice treat to wake up to. That's for sure. We got Wookiee in the house. A duder says, wonder they showed me more in this trailer than usual. Yeah. Mando with a Bando says, I'm hyped for episode 4 of WandaVision. Me too. Cat60 Designs, thank you so much for being here. Let's see, Yova Rodz is in the house. The second Quicksilver Evan Peters, who Ralph, aka Grim Reaper, will befriend Quicksilver, and it's this process that Peter's version replaces the original Quicksilver of the MCU. Wanda envisions kids also going to be a third child, a girl called Viv, who will be created to resemble Vision. Viv will be the only one to realize that Quicksilver looks different. That's very interesting, because like I was kind of thinking about that too with like Viv and everything. Human Crack 0890. He says real spoilers. Like, hey man, I mean, from what we've seen out of everything like going on behind the scenes that we like know about, I can't say that you're wrong. I can't say that's like too far out there. Like that's some crazy speculation, because you don't want to know the kind of crazy speculation on my mind.
Well, would Viv know the difference between the two Quicksilvers? Why would she be the one to recognize the difference between the two? She wouldn't. I don't know. But I mean, I'm on board with there being two different versions of Quicksilver in this show.
Yeah. Hey.
But I also wonder if Peters is going to play like a grown-up version of Speed.
Yeah, he could.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just but then he wouldn't be able to be in the Young Avengers. He would just be in the Avengers because he's too old. But right. I was just thinking, would they do that? That's dangerously close to codifying the old X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I love Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver.
Right.
But if he plays that version of Quicksilver, and then at the end he's like, "Ha ha, I'm actually Mephisto."
Right.
That would be a heck of a turn.
Well, I think part of it too that would be cool is like, even if they like kind of somehow did something exactly like that, is it's not necessarily saying that all the Fox X-Men stuff is canon to the MCU, but it's saying like, yeah, we own it. Go back and watch those movies and go buy them again because we own it.
Yeah. We own it now. It's okay to go watch it and love it. Go ahead. Even Origins was real. Go ahead. Yeah. Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Sure, go ahead. Even that version of Deadpool exists. Oh man. But you know what? It's not like they haven't done it before. Just look at Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool in Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to call that thing Deadpool, whatever that travesty was.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I see we got Gray in the house. Let's see. Justin says they can do a very natural connection of Kang with Apocalypse. That's just what I want to see. Apocalypse and Celestial connection too. Yeah. And hopefully they'll do Apocalypse some justice.
Oh my God. That was my favorite. The Age of Apocalypse series was my favorite comic run when I was a kid. And when they did that movie, I was so let down. I was like, I can't believe this is what you guys came up with for Apocalypse. I was hoping to see the whole Age of Apocalypse series with, Cyclops being a bad guy, Logan only having one arm and one hand, like the whole actual run. And just to have that, well, so disappointing. But anyway, sorry, yeah. I keep interrupting.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Let's see. Jonathan says, kind of out of left field, but that's one dude no one is talking about in his backstory. Kang, Doom, and the Richards family. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the crazy thing is, because like in the comic books, like before, like there's crazy stuff that happens all in this, like at that Vision and Scarlet Witch series. Crazy stuff that happens with the West Coast Avengers along the same time with all of these same characters, with the Simon Williams. It also crosses over into Fantastic Four, and it has to deal with all these witches who are trying to use Agatha to resurrect her son, Nicholas Scratch. So,
Nick. And the rabbit's name was Mr. Scratch.
Right, yeah, Mr. Scratchy.
Oh!
Yeah. He played Jesus in last year's Christmas pageant.
And Jesus was resurrected. Yeah. Dude, there's another connection. Yeah. Man, you were just pulling them out, man.
And I just gotta say, man, I freaking love Catherine Hahn, man. It's just like I could watch her scenes over and over again, I swear. The Immortus, Wanda's kids, Mephisto, TVA connection is deep though. Yeah, it is. Human Crack says it's all a dream. Yeah, and I could see that too, where it is maybe all a dream of Wanda's, but it's a dream that's becoming a reality, and it's exploding, and it's taking over reality. So absolutely. Let's see. Grace says, "Sorry, I'm late. Stop by like 5 times, and it hadn't started. Then I spaced it. No, all good, Gray. I started late anyway. I was having some technical difficulties." Mephisto is just so obvious. Master Pandemonium and Grim Reaper make sense as agents of Mephisto. Ralph is definitely Mephisto though, for sure. I don't know, man. I mean,
I think
it could be.
I think the Stork was Mephisto, frankly.
Right. Well,
because that's why Wanda's magic didn't have effect on him.
right.
Or Russell brought up a good point. Maybe the stork and the butterflies were manifested by Wiccan in utero. That's why she couldn't affect it. But I still would think that she'd be able to affect it in that case. But I think the stork bringing the babies, that was very symbolic and very. If it wasn't Mephisto, it was whatever third-party agency. Maybe it was Agnes looking in on the birth of the babies, but it was definitely. I feel like the stork was definitely a third party.
Yeah.
Definitely 100%.
Yeah. Comic Book Steals and Deals says All Hallows Eve and Sam Hain. Yeah. I was gonna say it's crazy too because a lot of that happens in like the comic books as well with Sam Hain, where he was trying to come back to life, come back to the living. That was in the first WandaVision series or Vision and Scarlet Witch series, and then the second one was all where they were trying to just. Yeah, it's really weird. There was different series, but they're all a lot of they all happened close to the same time too, and they're all very closely weaved together. Yeah, definitely. We got the Great Council here. Darth Daddy, how are you doing, my friend? Hope all is well. Yeah, you like that? It says, look at the stream quality. Yeah.
It does look crisp. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Finally got a capture card and got my nice camera and everything hooked up. Yeah. Upgrade.
Nice.
Upgrade. Everyday Geeks is in the house as well. How are you doing? Says, sorry, I'm late. No problem. All good. All good. George says it's her hex magic. Gray says hexagons and a beekeeper. Maybe Wanda is the queen. Yeah, I was gonna say there's been certainly theories based around that too, where like she's the queen bee, and like where they've made connections like Dottie used to be maybe, and now maybe it's Wanda, and that's kind of where the clash with Dottie and Wanda was coming in at as well. Which is almost a theory like I had with Mr. Hart and what was going on there with their work situation. Because we actually seen that Phil Jones got fired because of Vision. Because not necessarily because, but he got fired because, he didn't pass the test when they went, the boss went over to his house for dinner. But he got fired.
Dottie couldn't pass the
test. Yeah.
Dottie was the one that couldn't pass the test.
Right. Yeah.
Which was crazy. She couldn't please Mr. Hart. Apparently 5 courses isn't enough.
Right.
Which is funny because then she goes to her comment, what does a housewife do when she needs to get blood out of the linens? She does it herself. Like, did he beat Dottie when she caught, what if Norm's got a little secret history there? Like, why does she have to get blood out of the linens? Like,
right.
Did he ended up waxing Dottie because she couldn't perform for Mr. Hart, man? Oh, I mean,
devil's in the details, babe.
The implications. Yeah, I mean, it would have been the time. It would have been the time. Yeah, for that to be
that's true. That's true too. And I remember there was somebody else talking, bringing up some of that stuff too. Like, I think it was just, maybe some of the stuff you were talking about earlier in the stream with Captain America and kind of her standards, like family life and stuff like that too. And because I think that's what we see throughout this whole thing, because it was something that was in those Vision and Scarlet Witch series as well, where Vision and Scarlet Witch, they're trying to live a quiet, happy, normal life. So she's doing everything she can to keep up with the Joneses. She's just trying to meet the societal standard. And I think that's where she reverts back to the 50s. We're like, oh, it's just so easy. Like, I can just chill here at the house. I'm a housewife. I don't have to go nowhere and do anything. And then that's where everybody interjects like, oh, you're not married? Where are your kids? And it's like, okay, well, now we're married after the second, and after the second one, you just, the way everything progresses, like, marriage, kids, and it's just like she's constantly trying to live up to that status quo.
And living up to the status quo is actually pulling her through the decades at the same time, where like the status quo changes for women. Right. It's like everything keeps changing, and she's got to change with the times too. I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder what it's going to be like. I'm interested. I know somebody mentioned it before. Once we get that Modern Family and they do the style where they sit down and get interviewed, like getting a shot into their mindset and seeing what's going to happen there is probably going to be bonkers.
Well, because you've seen the in the trailers where they have her sitting down on the couch and she's sitting there in like the blue flannel and everything. It looks pretty. I mean, it looks like it's going to be intense, like when Vision walks in and is like, "Hey, where's Geraldine?" And it's just all. She's all, "Oh, Geraldine had to go home."
She had to go. Yeah.
Dude, like that's like one of the most intense moments. That was intense. Like I remember like the first watch, I was like, "Oh, dang, like that's some heavy stuff that just happened."
Yeah, it seemed like her saying no and rewinding the beekeeper was more defensive. It still seemed kind of acceptable, like she was protecting her and Vision, but that seemed completely offensive. Like, she saw a threat and she dealt with whatever threat she had and just like boop, just got it out of there. And Vision, it gives Vision a sense of his own autonomy too, where he's not being controlled. He really has questions at this point. Like, where's Geraldine? What's going on? People were acting funny. So I don't think I think a lot of people said that he's just a thought form. He's just a construct too. And I don't think he is. I think his consciousness is real in this world. Like, he really exists here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
T-Rev is in the house.
Right.
Says Shuri could have almost exactly copied his mind. Yeah, and absolutely. And that's the thing is, like, I think she actually could copy his whole mind. It was just all the other things that went into who he was, because that's what she kind of broke down. She basically told him, like, look, guys, you guys are using boomer tech, doing boomer things, okay? Trying to live in this modern world with Vision, but when really it wasn't them anyway. If you think about it, it was Ultron, but who was still a boomer. But essentially, that's what she was trying to say, and that's what she was trying to do, was get all that. And I'm willing to bet she got the download done, and he's out there in the world. Absolutely.
I go back to that scene where right before they come in, where she swipes and closes the program, like she had just finished it up before they came in. Like, I'm sure they got him. I'm sure she got him.
Yeah. Justin Simone says he regained. Oh, I must have missed something. Master Pandemonium. Okay, he's. Are you writing a blog here? Are you writing a blog here, Justin? He says, spoiler, Wanda knows this shit ain't real. Where'd he go? Master Pandemonium then abducted and absorbed Thomas and William, the children of Vision and the Scarlet Witch, who were actually two of the soul fragments he sought. Okay, he regained and replaced all 5 missing soul fragments, but then collapsed into a magical black hole within himself. Ooh, we're talking about a singularity now. Mephisto then appeared and revealed that the soul fragments sought by Master Pandemonium were actually portions of Mephisto's own fragmented essence, not Pandemonium's as he had been led to believe by Mephisto. Huh. Interesting. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Justin Simone's in there spamming the chat. Are you gonna make me, dude? Don't make me badge check. Oh, and my bad for being behind on the chat.
But hey, man, he's dropping knowledge.
Yeah.
You can't really like. It's the good spam. It's like turkey.
Yeah,
spam,
I know. It is. It's good spam.
It's good spam.
It's like when you take the spam and you fry it up. You put it on the toast.
Nice and
yeah.
Thick. Get the crispy side. Get the crispies on both sides with that little bit of mush in the middle, like the perfect spam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spam, egg, and cheese sandwich. Man, now I'm hungry.
Jonathan Velasquez. Okay, here, just skipped on me. There we go. George, there we are. Says, yeah, someone crash landed with a helicopter. I thought it's the beekeeper, but it seems I'm wrong. Yeah, and I'm wondering who it was then. Who it was those in those helicopters, or if there was anybody. My theory was that they're drones sent in by them, and but I could be wrong. The new trailer shows the beekeeper being through. Yeah, I was gonna say we've seen plenty of scenes where that we know the beekeeper is coming through, and it's interesting because he's got the sword thing on. He's in the beekeeper outfit. He's going in and out of this pocket reality there through this, like it looks like through the sewers and everything. And we've seen him crawling through the sewers in the trailers, and just very interesting stuff because even in like the Pleasant Hill book that I've been talking about, with that stuff, they actually had an underground tunnel that they had to go through to meet in because that was the only place that they could go to that was unmonitored. So just just so much stuff.
I think I have a theory. We've seen in the previews a beekeeper coming out of the membrane, for lack of a better term. I think we're gonna see that guy go in there in a hazmat suit. When he comes out of the sewer, he's gonna be in a beekeeper costume, and when he comes out of there, he's still gonna be in the beekeeper costume, letting us know that whatever form you take while you're in there, you keep that form when you come out of that pocket reality. Like you go in there, it changes you. When you come out changed. Whether it's changed physically or like because Geraldine didn't go in there in 70s attire, but she came out in 70s attire. So I think the beekeeper is going to give us another hint. He goes in there in a hazmat suit, comes out in the beekeeper suit that Wanda pictured him in. So it's going to be they're going to deem it very dangerous to go in there. It's going to be extremely dangerous because she could change you forever while you're in there.
Right.
Yeah, or somebody can change you forever.
I would almost believe that, but and of course they manipulate trailers. But in one of the trailers, we actually see him crawling through the sewer, and he's in that regular like beekeeper outfit, and you see him approaching the boundary as he goes through, and it still looks the same. But they could always manipulate the trailers too. It's hard to say.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one, so I'm probably just full of. Well, I don't want to cuss, but yeah, it's just a thought. But why would he go in a beekeeper costume?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's interesting.
And you know what it made me kind of think of too was like Back to the Future. You remember, like Back to the Future. In that back time, seeing that old like beekeeper suit that he had. Well, his wasn't a beekeeper suit, but he's like, oh my god, like it's a space alien.
I'm an alien from the planet Vulcan.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Mike Porter says, "Can I say this? I haven't said it all night. MCU rules." You can say it. You can. Mando the Bando says, "Is Marvel rebooting the MCU with Doctor Strange 2? If so, I need Tom Cruise's Iron Man training Ironheart. That would be badass." I'm okay with Tom Cruise being in there for, I doubt he's going to come in and be in there forever, but yeah, I don't mind seeing alternate versions of characters and stuff like that.
Oh man, I just can't imagine a 5'2" Iron Man standing on a cruise box doing the scenes with other people looking up to him. I mean, Iron Man shouldn't look up at anybody, mentally or physically. I don't know. I like the whole Tom Cruise thing, but I think that ship sailed back in like 2000. I think I don't know. If I had to pick somebody else, I don't even know who I'd pick, but I just can't picture Iron Man anybody else other than RDJ.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand why they do it, but I can't do Tom Cruise anymore. I don't know.
You don't like Les Grossman?
He's all right, man. I don't know. No, actually, I gotta be honest. No, I don't like him. I got a thing against Tom Cruise. The only thing I ever liked Tom Cruise in was Vanilla Sky. That's it. Man, that's it.
Dude.
And I saw a preview for Top Gun 2. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Dang, you bring up Vanilla Sky?
I love Vanilla Sky, and it has some tie-ins to what we're watching. That movie got me.
Dang, you know what? No, we're not even going to get into it. We're not even going to get into Vanilla Sky. Not even going to do it.
Are you sure?
Nah.
Because
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Relevant.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but damn, that's a good movie.
Tech support.
Yeah.
Tech support.
That's a damn good movie. That's a good one.
That movie went from love story to straight up sci-fi movie in a matter of like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Another one that reminds me, it reminds me of that too, but more on a horror side is it just came out last year called Possessor.
Oh, I'm gonna write that down. I have not seen that.
It's done by David Cronenberg's son. Man, why all of a sudden? I all of a sudden forgot his name. But yeah, it's Cronenberg's son. I'm like, dude, it's great. There's some. It's a cool movie, but there's some scenes in there that are just like, oh my god, dude, this is freaking great stuff. And it starts off brutal too. Like within the first 5 minutes of the movie, you're sitting like, yeah.
You get this crunchy face.
Yeah. Like I remember, like the first time I watched it, I was sitting there, I was like, ooh, like they're not wasting any time here.
Does it end up being a mind bender? Like is it a mind bender?
You know what? In the end, because it's a horror movie, so it's but it's also a Cronenberg too, man. It is. It was a trip. It was a trip thinking about it, because then it made me think about other things that kind of happened throughout the movie as well, and it made me think about who was really who. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Let's see. Everyday Geek says, my theory is Dottie is Abigail Brand, and that is why she was also not on the sword list. Interesting. Interesting. It could be. Let's see. Mephisto doesn't necessarily have anything to do with witches, says Trev. Yeah. Not necessary. Yeah, maybe not. Justin Simone says, True, Agatha Harkness makes a deal with Mephisto in the comics, and the kids definitely connected. I just don't see Feige completely changing the source material. Modifying and changing, yes, but complete change? Whoa. Justin. Man, buddy. Justin.
All right, let me reread that again.
I love you to death, brother. But I completely have to disagree with you there because we're not going to get into Captain Marvel today. But all I'm going to say is 2 words. Captain Marvel. All right? That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. Because...
Come on, Trini. Isn't it always a good day to get into Captain Marvel?
No, you know what? Because, no, and it's not. You know why? Because for me, it's such a difficult one because it's this thing I wrestle with that damn movie. Like, there's like, because I don't think the movie is a terrible movie. I think it's a pretty decent movie, but I just have so many problems with it. And I'm just like, oh no. Let's just, like, I feel like right now, like talking about Captain Marvel to me is probably like talking to Josh about Star Wars these days.
It's probably more specifically, it's probably like talking about episode 8.
Right.
It's like, can we just not talk about it anymore? Like, haven't we really said everything we need to say about it? Yeah.
Human Crack 0890 says future ads will cover Pietro's death, the explosion in Lagos, and Thanos via a vacuum cleaner commercial. Interesting. Human Crack 0890, if you end up coming in here and saying all this stuff and it ends up becoming true, I want to say F you for spoiling it, but also thank you. You can be my
He's
inside
a new
guy.
Roger Wardell.
You can be my access medias.
I got a badge. Look at my badge on the lanyard. Hey, I have a theory about those commercials. I have a theory.
Ooh.
They're referencing the stones. The first one was red. Even though it was Stark, it referenced the ether or the reality stone, right? Because the reality is the bread went in like not toasted, and it changed reality to be toasted. Now the second one, Strucker, that deals with the time stone. Even though Strucker didn't have anything to do specifically with the time stone, but it's pretty on the nose where it's dealing with time. The third one, Hydra Soak, unleashed the inner goddess, and it was a blue square. That to me seems like the Tesseract, unleashing the inner goddess, changing, bringing out what's inside, becoming a mutant. I'm just thinking. Or she gets hit with the power of the Tesseract and becomes, Wanda Maximoff and unleash your inner goddess. Take a look. It's a blue square. Just a thought. Just a theory. Probably wrong.
Keep going.
No, that's it. Because we haven't seen any more commercials yet. We got to see the next when we see the next commercial.
What are you doing?
We got to wait to see what the next commercial is.
You can't just say all this.
It's gonna have. Yeah, I mean, just hang on here. Yeah, and the fourth one's one of the other stones. Yeah, no, but if we've got, I'm saying, man, I think those are hidden messages behind the stones.
We're going here in a second. You know what? You're talking about the Tesseract, which is a blue box, but you know what? Everything that you were just starting to drop was giving me blue spheres.
Oh, really?
Spheres. So you got to finish. You got to finish.
Well, you're gonna have to hold on to those blue spheres yourself because we got a few more hours before you're gonna be able to release that tension. You know what I'm saying?
How am I gonna sleep tonight?
You stay up. Hey, I'm gonna make you stay up late with me, and we're gonna sit there. I'm gonna sit next to you virtually. We're gonna sit there, and I'm gonna caress the couch next to you. we're gonna talk about those blue spheres till about 3 o'clock in the morning. Trust me, it'll be just like a real date night. Just trust me.
Probably the closest to a real date night I've had in a while.
Yeah, I know.
Justin Simone says, I mean, Stark making Ultron instead of a Pym is still the same Ultron concept. I don't see Feige making Nightmare the connection to Wanda's kids. Too out of left field. I mean, Mephisto is in the stained glass window on Loki show. Dude's gonna start popping up everywhere. Yeah, and see, and that's the only reason I kind of wasn't like, I'm not really fully down with the whole Mephisto thing, is because I'm like, if he's going to be in this series, why would they reference him in Loki also in the trailer there? I mean, unless he's just going to be teased the whole time and he's going to be like the Thanos, or maybe the... not even the Thanos. I mean, maybe he's going to be like... I mean, like in Avengers, I mean, it was ultimately the Scepter that was the bad guy. It wasn't even really Loki. Like, is he going to be the next big person for the next, like, Avengers type movie? Instead of maybe he's going to be tossed in and referenced everywhere as opposed to actually being in it, and then he's going to come out. I mean, not being the big bad, but the mid bad, I guess, the mid bad.
That's a pretty epic level villain for like because I guess they're splitting the MCU into two, like where you have Earth based and then cosmic based. So where does he kind of fall? Because he's like, if you think about it, he's like he'd be lower than cosmic based threats.
Yeah.
But he'd be a whole lot higher than Earth-based threats, unless he's like the big bad for Earth-based threats. Because I think of Mephisto and everything, you think of outside of the realm of, he's dealing with mortals and sort of mortal issues though. Right. He's not dealing with cosmic level stuff.
Right.
Because he's still dealing with people's souls. So I guess he'd fall somewhere in that middle ground, right? He'd be almost the main bad guy for Earth-based heroes, but not, I would think that he's not going to be anything for say the Eternals to deal with. Like I don't know if they've ever had any dealings with him, but it wouldn't be anything for them to deal with a Mephisto type character. So maybe he'd be a mid-level bad guy, but he seems very specific though, very specific to this series.
Yeah,
could be wrong.
Jonathan says, "Oh man, I think the sound that Wanda heard at night was Monica sticking her fingers into the energy field Day shot. The next day, Monica appears." Yeah, could be. And Callisto Arcus, I forgot to welcome you here. I seen you creeped in a little bit earlier, and I forgot to say hi. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sneaking into the chat. Eric Heine is in the house as well. Mike Porter says, "Don't block Justin. I can vouch for him. Don't block." I'm just kidding. Oh man, but you better watch your ass in the next Nerd Venture stream, buddy. I'm just kidding, man. Actually, you might want to watch out, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, yesterday, man, Adam, man, he was on one the other morning, dude. I was like, dang, man, my man Adam's on it. Okay, let's see. What's everybody else saying in here? Jewart says, just watched the Possessor trailer. Yeah, it's the tropes. Humans melting with tech. The fears they default with radiation and had Godzilla movies. What? How about Squadron Supreme for a Disney Plus show? Yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably do something like that soon. I mean, Squadron Supreme, I mean, they could probably easily tie something like that into coming up into this show, or Falcon and Winter Soldier pretty easily. I would think. Why does the Space Stone make her invulnerable? Says T-Rev. Her powers...
I think something like Captain Marvel.
Oh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Why does the power... Yeah. I don't know. Did it, though? I'm not sure that it did. I have to go...
She got a blue nosebleed.
Yeah, I mean, she got... Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
She could punch through spaceships. I mean, that's pretty invulnerable, Yeah. I guess only when she wants to, though.
Yeah.
I mean, which is all the time.
I was gonna say my biggest thing with that though would be that the power of the stones can absolutely be replicated. We know that. Dr. Arnim Zola did this back in 1942. Hail Hydra. Tony Stark copied his work several decades later, almost 70 years later. And and that was kind of my other thing too. With like, you see the purple flower in Wakanda, and
Mm-hmm.
what it's done. And they said that a meteor crash landed in Wakanda and enriched the soil and did all that stuff. And to me, I think in the movie, like, it was going through space and it was blue, but by the time it crashed into the ground, it was purple. And I'm like, was that the Power Stone maybe? The crash landed there and actually enriched the soil there, and I mean, it took up some of the properties of these, because obviously we see this, all these powers can be replicated, they can recreate all of these things, so why not? Why couldn't it be that happened? Because the other thing is we know, and it's probably going to be coming up one of these days too soon, is we know there's going to be an Infinity Watch at some point, because I think I don't even think there's already been an Infinity Watch. There has been an Infinity Watch already. We seen in Thor Ragnarok, Odin had all of the stones at one point, except for he was collecting them. He didn't have all of them. At least I don't think they said he had all of them, but he had the Power Glove. He had all the stones, and
hey, but Hella retconned that. She said that was a fake.
Well, that glove was. Just the one that he had there on display, she said was fake. I mean, that's not to say that he didn't have one before, because we do know that he had the stones before. I mean, that's exactly what she was talking about. Was we went out, we were on this quest, we had all these stones, and the thing is I don't think Odin just let him go all willy nilly. He didn't just throw them into the air and treat them like Dragon Balls and let them spread out. Yeah. They ended up in specific places. The one ended up in they're in God, why am I thinking Ireland? They're in, oh man, why am I forgetting all of a sudden? Oh man, it was in Captain America. Shit, why am I forgetting this? Norway. In Norway.
Yeah.
It ended up there in Tonsberg, Norway, with those people. Odin put that there. I have no doubts about that. His grandfather, and that was the thing, is because he was probably searching for the ether, and maybe that's when he saw it, because his grandfather was the one who actually had them seal away the ether. Wasn't that in the second one? It was his grandfather, Bor, who had them seal away the ether to where no one would know. So Odin was on the move, and he had all those stones. And I think he's the one that actually entrusted these stones to people. Obviously, the Time Stone went to the... and that's the thing, is like, how many of them ended up on Earth? Because one ended up with the Ancient One as well. So...
Yeah. I mean, at one point in time, obviously there were quite a few on Earth. But do you think when Odin had them, then when you talked about them being able to replicate their powers, since if you had them for a long time, and I have no comic knowledge to go off of here, but do you think it's possible he maybe synthesized them or made replicas and that were maybe just as powerful, or was able to pull some of their power out and put it in other forms, and like maybe that's a piece of what that meteor from Wakanda, leading into what you said. And I'm not going off of any canon here or anything, but now that you mentioned he had them for so long, wonder if he did anything with them, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thought experiment. Like, if he had him for so long, what could he have done with him?
I'm curious about that myself too, because they did say that he had him, and and then you think about the Power Stone. It ended up on Morag, and it was there on Morag for at least 300 years, because that's when the oceans recede on Morag, so they could access that temple. So it's been there for at least 300 years, and all that stuff is very interesting, and it's obviously been there or been around for longer, because most of that stuff must have happened before Thor was born, because he had no clue who Hela was. He didn't know that his father had the Power Glove and all the stones. So,
and why did Why? What was the reasoning behind him hiding them away on places rather than holding on to them? Was it just too powerful for
I
him,
think
and he didn't want that
I think
power?
that's what kind of it ended up being, because remember, she was the one, she wanted the power, she wanted to go hunt down
Mm-hmm.
all the stones and rule over everything, and I don't think Odin wanted that. I think he was saying like, no, I don't want to be the complete ruler of all this stuff. It's like basically he already knows how hard it is being a king, and I think at that point that's when he's seen what it was doing to Hela and how she was kind of motivated by it, and I think he had the same intentions that Thanos had when he destroyed the stones, is that they're only good for temptation. That's all they're gonna do.
Uh,
And basically, mortal beings, or I guess, shouldn't have these things, because that's all they are, is temptation, and everybody's gonna want
right,
that power, because that's exactly what happened to Red Skull as well.
right. What effect, now that they're not on the Prime universe anymore? What effect does that have on the universe as a whole? Because we already know that the Ancient One said if they're removed from the time stream, it causes all kinds of chaos, and now they're effectively removed from the Marvel 616 universe, unless people like Captain Marvel, who possess some of the power of the Power Stone in her. Maybe these people are living embodiments of these stones, and that counts as having them around, and that's their workaround. But otherwise, this whole universe would start collapsing into chaos.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
if you think about it.
Absolutely, and what you're saying there is kind of like exactly it. Like, I mean, I think it could be replicated, and they can be sentient, because, like we know the Soul Stone wouldn't, reveal itself to you unless you gave that soul for a soul, and that's the interesting
Oh,
thing too. Because in that other story I've been referencing with the assault on Pleasant Hill, is the fact that Kobik, this Kobik program, it became this little girl, but what they were is they were cosmic cube fragments that
oh,
Shield had, and they were experimenting on them to try to
mm-hmm.
change the fabric of reality. But what happened was they had all these different cosmic cube fragments, and they were in different places. And what happened was they violently merged. They basically merged together and exploded and became one, and it became a sentient little girl who could change reality. So I mean, that's really not out of the realm of possibility. Plus the fact that we know they
Which
can be
is actually,
replicated.
yeah, and it's actually a pretty good possibility now, because Thanos said he reduced them to atoms. So if they're reduced to atoms, that means they technically still exist in the atomic structure of the universe, and they could be pulled back together
Absolutely.
into some. Oh man, what if Wanda's responsible for reforming? For
Absolutely.
what did
Now,
I just got chills?
this actually brings me into something else that happened in the Vision and Scarlet Witch series.
Lay it on me, man.
There's this point at which they are looking. Oh man, what was it they were trying to get? They had this book. It wasn't the book of Cagliostro. Not right now. We'll eat soon. Um, was they had God, who was it? It wasn't Sam Hain that was after this book. It was, God, was it? I can't remember who it was that was after this book. It was a book of spells and everything that Captain America had actually given to Wanda, and she had it, and she actually ended up destroying it, because Sam Hain was after it at one point. She threw it in a fire and burned it. Well, it turns out that later they needed it back, and they didn't have it. Vision was like, dude, it's gone. But whatever power it was that manifested itself that wanted that book back, they're like, it was crazy, because it was Illusion from Glamour and Illusion from the comic books. Those characters, I believe his name was Ilya. He's like, well, I can manifest this thing back again, but I need a piece of the book. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be the littlest thing. I just need it.
Mm.
So what happened is they flashed back to the previous series when Vision, when they had burned it, and Vision was actually fighting with a spirit who was possessed by Sam Hain at the time, and they went through the rooftop house as it was burning, and the little girl who was wearing the suit at the time, who was possessed, actually ended up having smoke basically ashes in her suit still, because she hadn't washed it. She actually still had the suit. They went and got the suit, got the sheet. Ilya took the sheet and did his magic on it and pulled all of the atoms from that book back into and formed that book again, so they had it.
Just from the little bit of the smoke stuff that she had. Oh man,
and then they destroyed it. And then they completely destroyed it. But that like thinking about all of that, like I'm sitting here like, wow, like they could potentially do that. They could potentially do that because, man, something else I covered in that video the other day, when Doctor Strange, when he was rewinding time with the apple, with the pages in that book. Thanos done it.
There's no, yeah. There's, you know, it's not the sidetrack.
That's exactly, dude. Thanos did it. We watched Thanos doing the damn movie.
Thanos did a division. That stone was part of the vision. That was like he reformed it. You know, I will say now, did you bring up Thanos doing that? Why didn't anybody rewind time on Tony with the time stone after he sacrificed himself?
They explained that in the movie.
Is it because then they brought the stones back, or the rest of the stones, and it would have been a threat? Or
I mean, there's a lot I could really jump down that wormhole. But I think a lot of for one, I don't think that was this universe's Tony Stark in the first place.
Oh,
I think that was Tony Stark's insurance program. But I think where they wouldn't be able to do that in that sense is because of what they were explaining in Endgame, where you can't go back to the past because the past then becomes your future. It doesn't change the future if you change the past. Which, like, the way they explained it really made sense to me. I'm like, I get it. I get it.
I get it. I just meant rewinding his body back to it, because you saw them rewind Vision back, and you saw them rewind the Apple back. So why couldn't you rewind just Tony back before he got dosed with the radiation? Unless it would have rewound the entire snap process.
Right.
That's the only thing I could think of, is it would have rewound the entire snap process as well.
Yeah, and that could be.
That's the only thing I can think. But I don't think that was actually Tony Stark from this universe.
Yeah. I'm almost dead sure.
I think Tony Stark from this universe is hidden somewhere now, off with his daughter and with Pepper Potts, hiding out, enjoying his life. That Tony Stark was somebody he met from another universe who had lost everything, and he got to fill in to do the mission for him. That's personally what I think. That's what I think. I don't think that I guess it's a rogue theory, right? But I don't think it was actually Tony Stark that did it.
Yeah, I really don't either, because like I said, he's smart for one, and he does always do the insurance programs. He even says, like in so many of his movies, that in Iron Man 3, he says that the smart guys, what is it like? It was towards the very end, like smart guys are always one step ahead. He always takes his inventions and goes and tests them before he does anything with them. His Iron Man suit, he built it. He went, well, except for the initial one. He had help with in the first place, but he went and he put it, and it was basically a test run. But then he built one. He put it through a test run before he told anybody about it. He didn't even create the time machine. Friday did, but he got this new technology, and I guarantee you, he went and tested it before he did anything. He's not gonna go to Avengers Compound with a plan and be like, hey, let's go do what these guys are gonna do and mess up time without me testing it, because I can't trust these guys and their science. Look what they're doing. They push time through Scott, not Scott through time. Right? Yeah, so yeah.
Think he had a whole bunch of rogue pin particles that he had somewhere, or either he procured them somewhere or synthesized his own version of pin particles, and because he would have needed that to use the suit.
Well, right? I mean, could there is that. I mean, I guess we don't know that he didn't have access to any at any point. I mean, he did, like, Stark appropriates everyone's technology anyway, and Hank Pym did used to work for Shield and all that other stuff. I mean, there's really a whole lot of ways he could actually come up with it, but yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, look, if Thanos could duplicate him,
right?
Yeah, which he obviously had to.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Tony Stark could have, this could have came up with his own version of Pym particles. But anyway, yeah, Trev disagrees with us. He thinks it was definitely our Tony Stark that died during the snap. There's, I'm just saying, he definitely disagrees with us on that one.
Oh, you underestimate the wiseness and the smarts of Tony Stark, huh? Even I'm not a big Tony Stark fan, but I know the dude's smart.
Hey, the dude can't sham people out of believing he's a real hero, without being really smart. Just being really smart.
T-Riff says, "Remember reading the Infinity Revelation? I haven't read that one. I'll have to check that out. The moment he puts on the gauntlet, he can travel through time as avatars, the way Thanos does in the comics, presumably, to see all possible outcomes." Oh, yeah. I'm with you there, Trev. Yeah, I'm there with you there. I'm there with you 100%. And that's kind of the thing I thought about Thanos was the second that he got all the stones in Infinity Wars, he becomes omnipotent at that point. Sees through time, just like Heimdall. And that was the thing, like Heimdall could see through all time. Which, I mean, obviously, I guess Heimdall's job wasn't to intervene in everything that goes on in the world, but he had to have seen all the stuff going down too, I would think.
He sees through all time, but is it just time on the timeline they're on, or can he see through other timelines? Like, because you probably wouldn't have been able to see different outcomes in different world lines. He'd have been able to see everything on this world line, right? Because he can just see.
Maybe so.
Isn't that like
maybe so?
Is he multi-dimensional Heimdall or like 616 Heimdall?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because he does just mention time. But that's the thing. Is when you get into time and space, that's where it gets really tricky. Because to me, time and space are essentially the same thing, especially once you get into the concept of them together. Because if you bend space, you're bending time, or if you bend time, you're bending space, and it's really tricky.
Yeah, it gets tough, especially once you start talking about branch realities and technically you never be able to get back to the reality that you left from, because there would always be a divergence. It's like basically think of trying to cover a distance by cutting the space in half. Like you could always get close enough that you might not even recognize the distance, but you're never actually going to be able to get there, because every time you move closer, you're cutting the distance in half. So, but that's the way it was explained to me one time about like time travel through using parallel dimensions. But you're really not even talking about time travel in this case. It's actually like world line traveling, so you're using different timelines and different world lines to essentially travel through time. But you're not really time traveling.
Yeah.
Because time traveling on your same world line would technically be impossible. Right. So in order to do so, you have to jump to a different point of view in an alternate timeline, which is why the only thing it's good for really is gathering items. Because you can bring something back, but you can never affect your original world line from the world line that you traveled to. So it gets complicated. But I will say this as a real world example, and I'm gonna get real for a second. If you've never checked out the John Titor story, I don't know if you've ever heard of John Titor, Titor. He's a time traveler. Showed up in the year 2001. Started posting on time travel message forums. And I know the Russos had to have read this, because the method of time travel they used was the exact method that he laid out, where traveling through alternate world lines, where you can never affect the world line that you came from. But his story is so interesting. I don't want to derail the conversation, but if you ever want to have a conversation about that, I believe his story, because there were a few things that he talked about. The biggest one was he had to go back to 72 to get an IBM 5100, because in his timeline in 2036, a whole bunch of computer systems, legacy systems, couldn't communicate anymore, and the 5100 had a secret function that it could communicate between BASIC, APL, a whole bunch of different computer languages. It was not a published function of the 5100. Less than 10 people in the world knew about it, until he showed up saying that this computer had that function, and then people went and researched and like, oh my god, he's right. So it was like a big aha moment, and now the computer is worth 19 grand online, because of like his story. There's a few other things he said, but his method of time travel, where you stepped into like another dimension, and you could, it was only really useful for grabbing things. When I saw Endgame, I was like, oh my god, the Russos like looked at the John Teeter story.
Right.
So it's a pretty sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that, like, that's the exact same thing that they were talking about in Ant-Man 2. They were talking about that same kind of concept, about it being in and out of phase with multiple realities at the same time. Yeah, crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild stuff. So yeah, take a look at it. But it's interesting to see how the Russos constructed their version of time travel, rather than sticking with like the Back to the Future model, where, you know, if you start, you know, you go back and kill your grandfather, then you would never been born.
Right.
You know, it gets around the grandfather paradox.
Right. Yeah.
So
I like that.
yeah. Sorry for the tangent there, but time travel is a big. I'm really interested in time travel, and I kind of geek out on time travel theories and stuff.
That's all good.
So.
Callisto says, "Wow, that's crazy! Pulling the atoms from ash." Yeah, and yeah, I think like it is really ridiculous, but I mean that's honestly one of those lines that I paid attention to in Infinity War 2 when he said it. He's like, "I reduced them to atoms." Well, what is? I mean, that's still matter. And you can't, and that's the thing, especially with energy, you can't. Well, isn't that what it is? Like you can't create or destroy it. It's just
it can only change forms.
Right.
Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change
yeah.
forms.
So
yeah.
I mean, really, those stones are still out there. You know, I think so. Comic Book Steals and Deals says, "Did you watch the tarot card video today?" The tarot card video. You're not talking about which tarot card video? Are you talking about? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the one that Will Morgan did over on Meta Egg, that was great. Did you watch that? Have you been following Meta Egg?
I didn't know. I haven't.
Oh, dude,
what is
it's
that?
great. Will Morgan, you know, he's in the community, man. He's got a channel he calls Meta Egg, and he's done a few videos, and they're pretty damn good, man. They're pretty damn good. He did one yesterday talking about the tarot cards and Wanda and WandaVision. I was like, ooh, damn, like. He went in on it. It was good. It was a damn good video.
I'll have to take a look at that. I got that written down.
A duder says, "I want another me
Will
from
Morgan,
another
you just
universe
got yourself another sub
to go to work for me." Yeah, definitely. Let's see. We got Over Easy Mode in the house. How are you doing? What is up, man? It says it's going to be hard to beat Josh Brolin's Thanos as the main villain. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Grace says, "Have a good night." You have a good night too, Gray. Thank you so much for being here. Through bionic implementation and long hours of meditation, Thanos augmented his eternal strengths and powers so that his abilities surpassed those of all other Titanian Eternals. Interesting. Close to saying, "Good night, Gray. See you soon, hopefully." Yeah, you know what? And that's another. I need to get Gray back here on a stream again. Have a conversation with Gray
is
soon.
She's one of my favorite
She's
people. I
freaking
play
awesome.
D&D with her. Yeah, I play D&D with her on Mondays, and she's a big help. She's a real good friend, and it was just her birthday the other day.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday,
Yeah.
Gray. You laughed, but yeah. It's all good. Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, when you watch it on the replay.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, she's awesome people, and like I said, man, she was here on when she came on and did the nerd therapy with me. That first episode was like, damn, man, like that really hit home for me. That was just such a great conversation. Awesome woman.
Yeah, she's a really good.
Spielberg is a time traveler, so is Orson Welles, says Georts. Could be. Ant-Man Quantumania is a great title for a new film. Yeah, it is. And I love it too, because I mean, I love the Ant-Man, and it sounds like fun. Quantumania. It sounds great. Like, I feel like I need to go to Disneyland and get on a ride called Quantumania. You know?
The whole thing sounds like it's going to be part of the theme park.
Yeah.
Come visit Quantumania.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Aggressively relaxing. How are you doing, my brother? Says Fitz explains MCU time travel really well. Check it out. Oh man, it's been a while since I've watched Fitzsimmons go on some rants and describe things to us little people with the little brains.
I watched the first season of that, and I never went back for subsequent seasons.
Oh.
Eventually, one day I know.
You're one of them.
It's
huh?
not that I didn't have anything against it. It's just I have precious little TV time, and it wasn't. It just didn't speak to me. Maybe it got better, but
yeah, I loved it. I really did
maybe.
like it. I think the only thing I didn't see was the last season. I need to go and watch it, but yeah, I did really like it. Eric Heine, this is, well, it is a community live stream. We are speaking with a member of the Myrtle Maniac community, but Eric, we will do another live stream and have you on again soon, my brother. Don't even worry about that. I'll get a hold of you. Eric. You'll be back on again, man. Don't even trip. We got several more weeks of WandaVision left. Then we're gonna have a few weeks in between that and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Time to nerd out about everything and just kind of decompress before we get into Black Widow. Maybe they better not delay that damn movie.
Yeah. Man, I saw a commercial for that the other day. I was like, oh, that's right, that still exists. I mean, talk about far down on the radar at this point.
I know it still exists. I'm hyped for it, but damn it, they better just like. I thought I heard somebody say that the other day that they confirmed or whatnot. I don't know how true it is that they are not putting Black Widow on the premium thing like they did with Mulan and stuff. I'm like, no, just do it, because where I live at, they're not opening theaters. But
there's nothing open around here now, and there's no sign that it's going to be open. They open a lot of stuff back up. It's just the local theaters. They're just out of business. So I mean, I'd have to drive back down somewhere to go see it, and I've gotten so used to just watching things from my home. Got a new TV for Christmas. Just put it on Disney Plus. Put it on the Plus. Let's just go. Let's just go and watch it, man. You know,
I'm there for it. I'm willing to pay. Take my money, Kevin Feige. Or
I mean, $20 for the whole family to sit around, or even if it's 30 for the whole family to sit around. Man, I got 3-4 kids upstairs. I don't remember anymore, but I got them, and then my wife and me. I couldn't go to the movie theaters for $20.
No, you couldn't.
Or $30. There's no way. Yeah, and the food's better here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But anyway, guys, we're gonna bring this stream to an end. I want to say thank you so much to Jason for coming on. I'm glad. You know what? I'm honestly glad. I caught your tweet the other day when you were saying that you wanted to talk about it, because I'm like, I feel the same way. I feel like I need to have these community streams every day and get together with other nerds more often to talk about this stuff, because the stuff's just on my mind constantly. So we're gonna be doing more of these. Maybe we'll do another one again this weekend or something. It's so hard to say. There's just I don't know, man. There's a whole lot going on here. Whole lot to talk about, speculation and everything. But Jason, do you have any last comments or anything to let people know about anything you got coming up on your channel to tell anybody before we leave?
Yeah. So right now, I just live stream right now on Tuesday nights. Up late with the Dungeon Master, cover D&D news and content. And we're gonna start having some regular guests on, and then coming up starting on the 21st, every Sunday we're gonna do PvP battle matches on a show called Beat Bobby Slay. Bobby Slay is a battle chef. Two people are going to compete in a 10-round PvP match to go against the battle chef himself in the Nine Hells Kitchen. So we're going to be doing a lot of it for charity. So you're going to be able to, as a person watching it, donate money to boost the bar, which then drops a loot crate. Half the money is going to go to charity, and the other half is going to go back into the channel. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then, if anybody's interested in Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop role-playing games, they can check out the channel Polyhedral Paradice and hang out with us. We also have a Discord. If it's okay, I can drop a link to the link tree so everybody can go to it if they want. Trent, is it okay if I drop a link?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it'll let you. Okay. I'm not sure if it'll let you.
Oh, okay.
But you can, you can certainly drop it in there, and if not, we'll definitely make sure that we get a link in there, or you can. You could always send it. You know what? You can send it through here, and I can make sure I get it dropped in there if you want to put it in the chat.
That's no worries. It's no worries. We'll just I'll get it out to the folks somehow. I mean, you can always find me around here, anywhere, or on Twitter at Jason_T P present. But Trinity, thank you so much for having me on tonight, man. I appreciate you heeding my cry because it is out of my verticals, and I can't go live with it myself. YouTube will kill me with the algorithm.
I hear you.
But it was really nice to get on and talk about it and let me ramble and stuff, man. And it was good streaming with you for the first time after all these years.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Year and a half, maybe.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
absolutely. We'll have to do it again.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah. And I do want to say goodbye to everybody. And Eric Heine, happy belated birthday, my brother. I hope you had a good birthday last Friday. And everybody else, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to all the new Myrtle Maniacs, all the new channel members. Thank you all so much. And I'm telling you, guys, channel members, Myrtle Maniacs, we are crowdfunding comics with the membership money. And I just got a notification. Another one's getting ready to come in the mail. So some of the ones that we backed last year when we first launched the Myrtle Maniacs are finally starting to come in. So I don't want to be falling behind on content. So some of those videos will be coming for members here very soon as I get some of these books read and can get some in-depth reviews shot for you guys. But thank you all so much for being here. You all have a very good day, and we'll see you all in the next video. But also, make sure, I'm going to drop this link down in the chat right now. Go check out my brothers over at the Den of Nerds. Go check out Alan Labas in After Dark. And we'll see you all in the next video. Later.
Later.